Good morning. Today we're going to continue with our Unit 2, Cinderella Tales. Before you proceed with this video, please make sure that you have this workbook, Unit 2, Cinderella Tales, a highlighter, and something to write with that is not a pencil or black pen. We're going to read an informational text called Creatures of the Deep. It begins on page 21. This is an informational text about creatures that live deep down in the ocean. As we read, we are going to be looking for some different unusual traits of creatures that live down deep in the ocean where there's little light and there's little light and a lot of water pressure. Because it's an informational text, we're going to start with our thief strategy. I've already completed this, so please make sure you complete it as I talk about each text feature. First, we have our title, Creatures of the Deep. What I notice about the title is that instead of animals of the deep or fish of the deep, it calls them creatures. It really means the same thing, but it makes me feel like these are more unique than just the typical animals that you might find in the ocean. Our second text feature is the heading. The first heading is called the Gloomy Depths. That word gloomy makes me feel like it's a pretty dark place that doesn't probably ever get any sunlight. On page 22, we have the heading Glow in the Dark Fish. That sounds super interesting, and I can't wait to read more about it. And then we have the heading Many Monsters. The fact that the author calls the animals monsters makes me feel like there are some pretty unique creatures. I think about the Loch Ness monster or other, monsters that supposedly have lived in the ocean through time. And it makes me think that there's some just pretty unique, maybe creepy animals that live down there that I probably wouldn't want to run into. Now, there's no introduction. So I've highlighted every first sentence. Scientists have only just begun to explore the deepest parts of the ocean. There is little light below 600 feet. Deep sea creatures can live where water pressure is strong and the water is very cold. Many deep sea animals glow in the dark. While some ocean animals are very colorful, deep sea creatures are not. And there is still much more to be learned about the deep sea. Now, we don't have really any end of selection questions, but if I look ahead to page 23 in my workbook, I know that I need to be figuring out what the main idea and key details of this passage are. I also know that I am looking for unique features of these deep sea animals. So to summarize my thinking, I'm thinking that there's probably some pretty unique animals that are living deep in the ocean, and that's what I'm going to learn about, and that probably they have some different unique adaptations that help them to survive. Now, there's no vocabulary. Oh, I skipped the visuals. Sorry about that. So let's go back and just look because these pictures are interesting. This is called an anglerfish, and if I look at the caption, it says, found only in the very depths of the sea, the anglerfish uses its own light to attract prey. And then this interesting animal is called a chain cat shark, and the caption says it glows at depths of up to 1,178 feet. So both of these animals have some sort of internal light, which I find to be super intriguing. Before we talk about the vocabulary, let's go ahead and number these paragraphs. So I'm using a red Sharpie. Now, you may not have access to that, so you could also write just with like a black pen over here. You could number that number 1. In fact, I think I'll do that. That sounds like a better idea. And then this would be paragraph 2 down here. Here I have paragraph 3, paragraph 4. And then for these, I'm going to just put over here paragraph 5. And down here we'll have paragraph 6. So there's only 6 paragraphs, not a whole lot of reading today. Now let's talk about a few vocabulary words that we're going to find as we read this article. So our first word is explore, and that is a word that I'm sure we could all use in a sentence. It means to search or look for. We already read in the article that scientists just began exploring the bottom parts of the ocean. I think as we read, we'll see that it's been about 100 years, which doesn't seem real recent to us, but in the nature of life on Earth, that is a pretty relatively short amount of time. Surface is the outermost layer of something, so the surface of the ocean would be the very top. Varieties means different kinds. We'll probably read about a lot of different varieties of animals. Attract means to pull toward, like if you think of a magnet would attract different things to it, metals to it. Creatures, another, just a more interesting word for animals. Ocean is the large body of salt water. It covers 2/3 of our earth. Prey are animals killed by other animals for food. And then organs are specialized parts of a plant or animal that do specific tasks. Now, speaking of that word organ, there are a couple of multiple meaning words as we read the text. We know that we have lots of strategies that can help us determine multiple meaning words and their definitions. One is to use context clues. We can look for synonyms or antonyms or examples. And organ is a multiple meaning word. One definition of organ is a musical instrument that's kind of like a piano. But as we read in this text, I think that we are going to find the different examples of organs like eyes and gills and fins, skin, different types of organs that have a certain function in these animals. So that is one of the skills that we're going to talk about as we read through these texts this week. So again, we're just trying to find some different unusual characteristics, things that make these sea animals unique. Let's read. Scientists have only just begun to explore the deepest parts of the ocean. At one time, scientists thought that no life existed at the bottom of the sea. They knew that the deep sea was dark and cold. They knew that the water pressure was very strong. However, about 100 years ago, scientists began dragging heavy nets across the seafloor. They found crabs, worms, and some strange-looking fish. I imagine that about 100 years ago, when scientists dragged those nets across the bottoms of the seafloor and they found some different strange-looking fish, that's probably what sparked for scientists to begin studying the different types of creatures that could live in that depth of water and the different features that they would have that would help them to survive. The gloomy depths. There is little light below 600 feet. Total darkness begins at about 3,000 feet. No sunlight reaches these depths, so no plants can live there. Yet not only do creatures live in this dark world, they are present in unexpected numbers and varieties. Some swim to the surface waters to feed, while others hunt for food in deep waters. The main food sources for deep sea life are the plant and animal remains that drift down from above. So we know that plants need to have sunlight in order to make food. Typically in our ecosystems, plants are the lowest level of food on our food chain. Animals eat plants. But these animals in the deep ocean, because no plants can live there, they have to depend on dead plant and animal remains like that, sink down to the bottom, or they have to go to the top in order to get their food. Glow-in-the-dark fish. Deep sea creatures can live where the water pressure is strong and the water is very cold. They have ways to find food in this black world. Some fish have huge mouths to help them catch and eat anything that swims by. Others have elastic stomachs that stretch to hold whatever food they come across, even if it is larger than they are. I kind of feel like I had an elastic stomach on Thanksgiving when I was eating all that food. It just kind of grew and grew so it could hold it all for me. Just kidding. I wish. So we are looking at glow in the dark. I wonder how glowing in the dark helps these different creatures. How does it help them to survive? How does it help them to find food? Let's see if we can read a little more. Many deep sea animals glow in the dark. Their organs, such as their eyes or scales, give off a brightly colored light on their bodies. The organs glow so that the animals can attract their prey. These organs may also help fish identify each other and find mates. So there we have it. Their glow in the dark attracts their prey. Then they can attack their prey, eat it, and survive being able to find food. And also the glow in the dark helps them to be able to find a mate, which allows them to reproduce and it allows their species to continue. I also want to point out that word organ. Their organs, such as their eyes or scales. So that is an example that is given in the context to help us know what type of organ is being referred to in that sentence. Many monsters. While some ocean animals are very colorful, deep sea creatures are not. What sets creatures of the deep apart is their odd appearance. Most are quite small in size, often just a few inches in length. But these many monsters can be fearsome to see. I know that I would not want to see any of them. So what makes them look like many monsters? Why does the author refer to them that way? Well, it says they're not very colorful. They're quite small. They're only a few inches in length. And they have an odd appearance. And if you look at the pictures, I think that is apparent. There is still much more to be learned about the deep sea. Scientists now know one thing, though. Here in the darkness, beneath tons of icy water, life thrives. So, let's think for just a minute about the deep sea creatures, and let's talk about how they are the same and how they're different from other animals that live in the sea. So, other animals I can think of that live in the sea are dolphins, sharks, grouper, shrimp, crab, lots of things I like to eat. And let's think about how they're the same and how they're different. I think one obvious way that they're the same is they both live in the ocean, right? They live in salt water. Okay? Let's think about other sea animals and compared to deep sea creatures. So some of these, a lot of other sea animals, we actually see them. So a lot of them are food for humans. I know I enjoy a nice shrimp cocktail or a grouper sandwich, but I'm pretty sure none of these deep sea creatures are food. I don't think I want an angler fish sandwich anytime soon. Those other sea animals, they live pretty close to the surface. And so we can see them. If you're out at the beach, you can see different starfish, or you can see dolphins swimming in the water. You can see crabs, sand dollars, but we don't really ever see any of these deep sea creatures. One thing I find that's different is a lot of them give off their own light. That's super intriguing to me. And these sea creatures that live close to the surface, they get their light from the sun. Why don't you see if you can come up with another way that the other sea animals and deep sea creatures are different, and another way that they're the same. Copy down what we have here and add one more thing in each column. You can go back to your book, pages 21 and 22, and see if you can come up with one more way that they are the same and one more way that they are different. I've enjoyed reading this article, and I hope that you have too. I know I've learned a lot about the features of these wild and crazy creatures of the deep.